All right, guys, welcome back to the ALG podcast. I am your host, John Arpino, and we can stop recording right now because I messed up the whole intro I wanted to do. I do
No,
this every time.
no, we're not stopping. We're
No, we
running with
are.
the flow. We are authentic people. We're just going with it, man.
All right.
Come on.
Welcome back to ALG podcast. I'm your co-host, John Arpino, J-Arb's Journey. Alongside me is my partner in crime, Fit D-Rock. David, how are you doing today?
I am phenomenal. We're
And
talking. This is
Go ahead.
going to be interesting because your boy just drove 14 hours from Georgia after picking up a puppy and then being up all night, getting home at 3 a.m. this morning, dealing with a puppy all day. So we're wired on some rain right now. I'm going to be honest. And this is not even a sponsored thing. This is
He's
just
lying.
just need some caffeine.
He's so lying. He wants that sponsorship so bad. All right, cool. So today joining us is a very special guest, someone who has impacted my life personally, who honestly, and this is no bullshit, if it was not for him, there would be no journey. It would just be J-Arp, and that's pretty boring if you ask me. So without any further ado, our guest today is the one and only Steve Arnone. Steve, how you doing?
What's going on, boys? How you doing, man? I'm good.
Good.
Getting by with this.
Yeah, I feel you, man. Everyone's hunkering down. We're in quarantine. We haven't seen each other in 2 months, and I miss you, man.
I miss you too. Too long. So today, Steve, I'm going to take the spotlight off me for a change. And today, it's all about you. This is new.
Very new.
Very new.
So, Steve, for those that don't know, how much weight have you lost?
From my heaviest to my lightest, I lost 115 pounds.
Very nice. And you did that all naturally, right?
Oh yeah, baby.
No surgeries, no diet pills, no tummy teas.
No tummy teas, no stomach wraps, nothing like that.
And since you started your journey, you took it to the next level, didn't you? So why don't you just tell us what you've been up to since dropping the 115, and then we'll get into your backstory.
Well, since I started the whole weight loss journey, my goal was pretty much to eventually compete on stage. So basically the first thing that I did once that 115 pounds was off and that body fat was gone was start that next step to getting on stage for the first time and then continuing from there.
And how many times have you competed?
I've competed 4 times now.
Very nice. And what class have you competed in?
I've done classic physique and bodybuilding, but looking like the future is going to stick with just classic physique.
Very cool.
And
all right.
For anyone, question just for clarification, for anyone that's listening to this, what is competing exactly? What is physique competing? Classic physique? What is it?
So it's pretty much getting your body to a level that is just extremely, extremely difficult. And then after putting in all the work, getting up on that stage, competing against others who have done the same, and just being able to present it in a way that pretty much just shows your strongest points, hides your weakest points to the best of your abilities.
So basically, it's trying to look as yoked and sexy on stage as possible.
Pretty much to get judged.
Yeah, to get judged by. I respect it. I've done once. I mean, I'm intrigued. As we kind of peel back the onion and talk to each other, I'm so intrigued to like get your experience and everything. So I just competed my first show back in November, and so it was a roller coaster of emotions. So I'm intrigued to see how your experience was as well.
Oh yeah, there's nothing like it. That's for sure.
So, Steve, I want you to roll back time and take us back to the beginning. Okay. Would you say that you were always an obese child? Were you overweight as a kid?
I would say once I got to about 7, 8 years old, that's when it really became an overweight issue. I wasn't just that baby fat kid anymore.
Right.
And I think that turning moment was playing football as a young kid. You had weight limits, right? So that first year of me signing up, 7 years old, I was good. I hit 8. All of a sudden it was, oh, sorry, you're a couple pounds overweight. You're too heavy to play with these kids. That was like my first, wait, what? Like,
right.
There's an issue to this.
Right.
And then it kind of just continued to progress from there. But due to football, we kind of took advantage of the size and, used it to my ability, which helped me, but also I believe hurt me.
Gotcha. Now, did your parents ever kind of say, hey, Steve, you're getting a little heavy, you're getting a little big, maybe we need to, adjust some things? Or was it just kind of peachy keen at home and everything was just, you don't really remember having to go on diets as a kid and stuff like that?
I remember when I was younger, more elementary school, that's when they showed that kind of interest in, all right, we need to do something about your weight before it does turn to something serious. Like my doctor would tell me, like, listen, if this continues, you could be diabetic. Like these are real problems you could face. So then, yes, we used diets. I tried the South Beach, Slim Fast, all that stuff, like,
Right.
But really, once I got into high school and was playing higher level football, trying to go to college for it, at that point, it was just kind of just, all right, let him do his thing and see where it rolls.
Okay. So what you said before, your doctor warned you about maybe being pre-diabetic. Did you have any ailments as a kid? Like for me, I had very bad asthma, as we both know, growing up, but it seemed like you were pretty healthy on the spectrum of not having really diabetes, asthma, sleep apnea, or anything like that, right? Because you were very athletic, even when you were heavy.
Yeah, I was definitely blessed with that. I didn't have any of those ailments, thank God.
Okay.
And
now
that definitely would have made it worse.
Right.
What size I'll be honest, this is our first conversation together, so I don't know any of the backstory on any detail. What kind of size are we talking about? Like when you were in high school and you were just being a big boy, being a big football player, what size are we talking about?
Well, I'm about 5'10" and a half, and I was 315 pounds.
Woo! Okay.
At what point were you 315 pounds in high school?
Well, when I graduated high school in 2013, we went right into a summer camp for football. When I decided to stop playing football, that was about 2 months after graduating. That's when I weighed in, saw that heaviest weight on the scale.
Okay, so now you see this heavy weight, right? You're going to college. You are aspiring to be a college football player. You're hit with this huge weight. You know that you can't go, on much further being, at this point. Where do you take it from there?
At first, I honestly didn't know. All I knew was that where I was in life, doing what I was doing, I was absolutely miserable.
Mm-hmm.
So at first I went home and I was lost.
Right.
That's where I talk about, like, I eventually got to that moment where it hit me and I was sitting there at the end of my bed realizing, like, shit, if I do want to change and not feel like this anymore, I have to act on it and I have to do something. Otherwise, I'm just forcing myself to stay with this.
Now, you were never.
What were some of the eating habits at the time? Just like, so
generally
understanding. Was it
pretty
just
much
eating
anything.
healthy, but just too much, or was it? What were you doing?
No. It was a lot of everything. Even like in high school, for the varsity people, like the seniors, after we would do a lift or a practice, our coaches would delegate the underclassmen to make us fucking peanut butter and jellies. We would have pasta parties. You'd go home, eat whatever you wanted. We'd go out to lunch, get McDonald's, go back to school, eat more lunch. And, that just continues.
But now you were never judged, I mean, from what I remember in high school, as a fat kid. And I think that, I mean, you can say if I'm wrong or not, but I think that is attested to the fact that you were really active, you were involved in sports. So I don't feel like you were put on the pedestal that much as like one of the fat kids, like me, for example. I remember a lot of getting bullied when I was heavier, but I feel like for you, because you were on the sports team, because you were a quote unquote jock, you were not, you weren't made fun of like that. Would you say that is correct?
To a degree, I definitely feel that that's true. Don't get me wrong, I had my bullies. I heard those backhanded compliments and the voices from around the corner and all that. No matter where it may be, but I definitely think that you're right. Me being active in sports and in the school sports especially definitely kind of helped me not go into that realm, thankfully, because as we all know, like, bullying it's absolutely horrible to anybody, let alone a developing young kid. So I'm blessed that I didn't have to really face that too much.
Right. So now you're faced now with being 315 pounds. You're like I said before, you're wanting to go to college. You know that you're a little bit too heavy, too big for your size. What do? What is the first thing that Steve Arnone does to try to get this weight off? Are you doing it on your own? Are you consulting somebody?
Oh, no, I'm going right to my family. So my cousin, brother, whatever you guys want to call him, I've known him since the day I was born, thanks to my older brother, who was his best friend. I contacted him immediately, told him straight up, like, listen, this isn't healthy. I'm done with football now. Like, that journey's over. Time for a new one. We got to do something to save me, because this isn't going down a good path right now. And then it was basically from there, we just slowly sprung into action.
So why did you decide not to go the football route?
Because at that point in my life, and basically because of my size, I knew that I didn't have what it took genetically to really go to that next level. I wasn't going on a full ride scholarship to some Division I huge school where I could sign an NFL contract one day.
Right.
Like, well, let's be real. I was 5'10". I'm a white kid from Massapequa Park. And yeah, I was strong and I was big, but I was fat and I was slow also.
Right.
So, you know, I didn't really have what it took to put my body through that and deal with all that for not much, at least for me. I didn't see it as much in the end.
Right. I got you. So now who did you consult? You said that it was your brother's friend. What is his name? So everyone knows.
Yes, Anthony Tuminello. He is the creator of Method Training. I refer to him as the GOAT.
He is the GOAT. I will attest to that. So now you and Anthony, you're working. What is one of the first things you remember Anthony doing as far as your diet go?
Pretty much just kind of trying to change my life. So we did not go balls to the walls, competition prep right away, chicken, rice, asparagus. Like, it wasn't like that because he knew I wouldn't be able to maintain that. So we took a slow, steady approach. Like, I just got done talking to a guy who messaged me earlier asking for some advice. And it's pretty much like, ooh, I just lost my train of thought.
No, it's okay. It's all right. I asked you what was one of the first things that Anthony taught you when you first started working with him? So like,
oh yeah,
as far as like the diet and everything like that.
Yeah, it's just a slow approach, especially when you're coming from being so overweight, eating that much. You don't want to just dive straight into it head on so crazy because you're not going to be able to maintain that.
Okay. And you were working with Anthony one-on-one in the gym, or where were you working with Anthony?
I've been working with Anthony in the gym since I was about 15 years old.
Okay.
So we just continued to doing it like that. Diet, nutrition, training, all that.
Very nice. Very nice. So take me through this point, you know, as best you can in detail of, you know, you starting out this weight loss journey, and just walk me through. Just paint me a picture.
So like I said, pretty much since I was about 8-9 years old, I've been facing that obesity issue. And over time, it did spiral out of control. And it didn't get to the point until I started losing some family members to some unrelated deaths and facing my own issues with depression, anxiety, stuff like that, and weight-related issues, that I knew that I needed to make a change.
Right.
So eventually, and it was not overnight. Right. I didn't get that big overnight. I took my time. It was hard work, but I eventually started to get that weight off. And pretty much the rest is history from there. Once that weight came off, I was blessed to do it in a place where I had somebody who was watching me pretty much the whole time, and that was your Uncle Lou. And eventually I got to the point where he came up to me and he goes, listen, like, you ever think about being a personal trainer? And I was like, Lou, I've been trying to do that for like 3 years now. He's like, all right, well, I got an idea. I'm going to talk to the owner. We'll see if we can get you a job training here, but you got to help my nephew out. Like, all right, not a problem. I'll help out whoever you want. And then unbeknownst to me, you come trotting out of the elevator.
See, I don't even know that end of the story.
Can you
describe trotted
to me?
Hobble.
Oh yeah. Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down, David.
We didn't fall down. He definitely did not fall down.
I love it.
See, now I didn't know that. I didn't know that end of the story. Like, I knew my uncle had come up to you and said that, you know, I had a little bit of a problem and, you know, I needed help, but I had no idea that he was maybe the reason why you started to become a trainer. So,
see, I heard you talk about that yesterday, and I immediately was like, oh, Lou's getting that shout out.
Oh yeah, no, that's crazy to me. That's wild. So was I was your first client? Is that
you were
really?
One of them? Yeah.
Wow. All right, so now you're working out. Now, when we met, you were in pretty good shape. I mean, you still had a little bit of a belly, but you were rocking and rolling. Were you? Now, this brings us to, I think, late 2015, early 2016. So, were you still in the middle of your weight loss journey? Were you kind of, you know, finishing up and sanding the edges? Like, where were you at that point when we first met?
Well, the edges are always getting sanded, you know that. But I think that I was still in the middle of my weight loss journey, even though most of the weight was off. Because it really wasn't until about 1.5 years later that I finally did decide to step on stage. And that was at that point where I kind of felt like, all right, that fat loss, worrying about the scale, that journey was over. Now it's time to take that new step.
I had that exact same thing with me. It was because I mean, if you don't know, I was 410 at my heaviest.
Jesus.
Yeah. And my first 3
I just want to let everyone know they're both lightweights. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, compared to you, yes.
You know who the alpha fat man male over here is. And my first, all I focused on was the weight loss side of things. I barely strength trained. I just went cardio for the first 150 pounds of my weight loss. and then had my 2X skin removal surgeries. And then I look back and I was like, I'm just like a wiry little schmuck.
Yeah.
But then, but it felt good as a transition point of like, the obesity's done, the fat's gone. Now let's get chiseled.
Oh yeah. And it also helps to know like, all right, I did that. So really, what can I do?
Exactly. But it is very interesting how you and I had the same approach, which was like, just get the fat off first, and then we can develop our body into what we want it to look
Oh yeah.
like.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I was always lifting and developing and definitely strength training since before I even started the weight loss journey.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, before I could really take that next step, just mentally to get on stage, I knew that I had to have that all off.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you ditch the relationship with the obsession of the scale? Because I know when me and you started working together, we weren't that obsessed, especially in the beginning, about really the scale kind of moving. It was more about just getting me moving more than anything. So how did you, kind of defeat that obsession with knowing where your weight is at and stuff like that?
Honestly, I'm not going to say competing, but that realm of competition, because it really does. It comes down to an illusion with bodybuilding, right? So I could be 50 pounds heavier than you, but because our height's different and we pose different, we look different.
Right.
So that number, it matters. Don't get me wrong, it matters. But it's not the end all be all. If you look good, you feel good, your clothes fit good, you're healthy, what does a number matter?
Right. Exactly.
And that's what I wanted to get into your head.
Right. And I agree.
That's
that
huge.
helped me a lot.
I literally, that fits. I mean, that hit me in my transformation. Because again, it was dangerous for me at first because people get caught up in this. My only sense of progress for the first 150 pounds was the number on the scale.
Oh yeah.
And which it's good to have some type of sense of progress, but it's dangerous too, because after the 150 plus pounds, the 2X skin removal surgeries, and I got into strength training, I had about a 3-month mental breakdown because I was getting so frustrated that my number on the scale wasn't changing. I was looking better. My shoulders were growing. My chest was growing. My bench was getting better. Everything was getting better in progress. But I had put so much emphasis on the number on the scale that I had like a 3-month little hiatus where I was frustrated even though I was progressing.
Yeah, because it's just programmed into us that when the scale goes up, that means we're getting fat.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I had a huge problem with that. A very big problem with that. So now talk me through your eating habits at the time. It mostly in your weight loss journey, like before the competing went on, before you stepped on stage. How were you and Anthony really getting off this fat as quickly as possible to get you to the goals that you wanted to meet?
We immediately started crushing cardio. Like David said, cardio was huge for me. Lifting was huge for me, and changing my style of lifting. I grew up lifting more like a football player and a power lifter, just throwing shit around. I had to turn that into more of learning how to contract my muscles, squeeze, burn, get all that out of it, which does play a big impact in what you're doing in the gym calorie-wise when it comes to burning.
Right. So you were doing more of a high rep, low weight, right?
I mean, like I've done with you, we've done a little bit of everything with the training in the gym.
Gotcha. Drop sets are my go-to. I don't know, drop sets and just burnouts.
Absolutely.
That's like that's my bread and butter today. Is just all drop sets and burnouts.
Yeah, we combine it all. Do some low reps, do some drop sets, higher reps, change it all up.
So we're jumping around a lot here. Now I wanted to talk really quick about the tools that you implemented on like a mental level, because one of the big things, and I attest this all the time whenever I'm on a podcast, I credit you. So one of the big things that you taught me was accountability. So for those that don't know, before I got into this whole weight loss journey and everything, accountability meant absolutely nothing to me, like zero, zilch, nada. And when I met Steve, the first thing he told me was, if you really want this, you need to be accountable. Well, I looked at Steve and I said, what the fuck is accountability? And he goes, when you say something that you're going to do, you actually have to follow through with it and, actually do those things that you're saying you're going to do, which blew my mind. Like, oh, I'm actually supposed to follow through with my actions now. Like, I can't just say I'm going to lose 200 pounds. Right. So what really taught you this accountability life? Like, how did you stay accountable to the things that you want? Because again, you were 315 pounds. You wanted to go be a football player. You know, you didn't know where life was going to take you. How did you become accountable to saying, okay, I'm going to drop this weight and I'm going to step on stage and I'm going to look the best that I've ever looked in my whole entire life?
Okay, so once I really lost the weight and did all of that, I kind of proved to myself that I can do things that I never imagined possible. So yeah, when I was going through my weight loss journey, it was scary and I was unsure. But once I did that and I lost that 115 pounds, it showed me that, all right, I really can set these big, crazy goals
Right.
and truly believe that I'm going to achieve it to the point where I'm going to put it out there because I'm that confident that I'm going to do these things.
Were you writing down your goals? Like, were you physically
Um,
like, you know, typing them out, writing them out, saying, you know, I want to lose, you know, 15 pounds by whatever date? Or how were you kind of breaking this up? Because no one loses 115 pounds in a day. It
yeah.
just doesn't happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I didn't really have any timeline goals for that. I was kind of, like I said, we took a slow, steady approach at first. So it was just kind of letting everything go how it was supposed to go. Once we got into the realm of competing, then it's a different story. We got our goals written down, timeline, show set up, photo shoot set up, all that. So
Now, what's
now,
that like?
yes, I do.
What's that like, competing life? Because I mean, I don't compete. I've never competed. I know David's competed.
This is a conversation over here, Ozzy.
Yeah. So I want you guys to chop it up about the competing end of things.
It's definitely a unique life. You got to be strong-willed to do it, to be able to eat 5-6 times a day. Sometimes you're eating the same thing 6 times a day. To get to the point where I'm eating fish for breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then 3 meals in between. And, you know, that's just part of it. But if you got that will, and especially if you've done it before and you've seen the results of that work, it's a lot easier and you're able to enjoy it. But
I'm
definitely
intrigued.
not for the weak.
Your first competition, obviously you also have a sense of, I mean, a vast majority of competitors, not all, are genetic specimens that they change a couple things and they can do incredible things.
Mm-hmm.
With having that 100+ weight loss story on top of it, there is a certain level of just what's naturally capable and all that kind of stuff. How was your first experience stepping on stage, competing, comparing yourself to everyone around you? Did you do well with that, or did you have some struggles?
I think leading up to it, I struggled. Leading up to it, I not even gonna lie, I truly thought I was gonna be a one and done thing. I was miserable.
I remember that.
I hated it. Yeah, oh yeah, John can attest to that. I was a miserable fuck. But once I got up there and was talking to the people backstage, I wasn't looking around judging everybody. I was just enjoying my hard work in the moment. And I mean, as soon as I walked off the stage, that was like, all right, one and done. I'm fucking hooked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What were you competing at? Like, what was your general? I mean, obviously, as we know, it doesn't completely matter. But what was your weight on stage, and where were you kind of body fat at?
My weight on stage the first year, I was 197 pounds. So that was the lightest weight that I've ever reached, and I pray I will ever reach.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because this will blow your mind. So, and it's crazy. People don't understand when you don't do something that's sustainable, and this is where a lot of people get into trouble. Is they do something, again, there's nothing wrong with very restrictive diets if you understand the fact that you're going to have to reverse out of it. You're going to have to work your way out of it. But most people don't get that. That's why they have this diet roller coaster of everything going on. And my competition weight, I'm 6'1.5", 6'2". I was 212 on stage. And I was probably like 10%, maybe 12% body fat, somewhere in that range. And 9 weeks, I had a whole plan to reverse diet. I was down to, because I blew up my ACL I blew up my PCL a year to the day before my competition. I wanted to prove a point that no matter what's going on in your life, you can do it. And I was 280 because I was my body, like I was on like this just growth stage of bodybuilding. And so I was at 280, probably around 30% body fat, tear my PCL playing basketball in November. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do this. And a year later, I went from 280, 30% to 212, probably 12%, 10%.
That's awesome.
But I was the last 6 weeks going into the prep, I was down to like 1,300 calories a day of just straight protein. And I was doing cardio for 2.5 hours a day. It was brutal. Right
Oh
at
yeah.
November, you get this. I would in 9 weeks afterwards, I went from 212 to 256 in 9 weeks.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow.
Your body is definitely like a sponge as soon as you are done with the competition prep. Because like you said, you're at a very calorie restricted state. So like you for example, were eating about 1,300 calories. That is very low for a man who is 6'1", over 200 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So as soon as those calories start cranking back up, your body's like, all right, give me them. I'll suck all that shit in and I'm going to hang on to it all.
Yep.
So that's why I've been there before too. I usually competed around 4%, 5% body fat. And my first couple shows, I didn't know how to reverse diet. I blew up. My stomach was bloated out. I was up 20 pounds in 2 days. And again, John can attest to that because he saw me and he heard me bitching and moaning in pain. It was, I had the sweats all the time. It was horrendous.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where the learning process comes from. Now, my last show, we did it different and my body reacted different.
Mm-hmm. I think it's fascinating too, is like, just from what you said right there, I think it's so important. This is what John and I hit so hard, is like figuring out your body. And when you get to a level of, I'm just going to live a healthy lifestyle and I'm going to figure out what my body needs, how my body feels to things, you have a whole different sense of nutrition. You have a whole different sense of how your body works. Cause like now it's like, oh yeah, I did something stupid. I did this. I gained 20 pounds. The bloat was killing me. I was getting meat sweats. And like, I know what that's, and I'm going to get away from that. And so,
Yeah,
but most
you know
people
the
don't do
reasoning
that.
behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you
and
don't
that's
have
the
that
big
guilt.
part. Like,
you know what I'm saying?
Because that's why you got to learn it. If you know what you're putting in your body, you have a much better understanding. And then, like you said, you've done it before, so there's not that guilt. Like, all right, whatever. I put on 20 pounds. I've already taken off 115. I could do that again, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
What's a day of eating for you when you're in the middle of prep? So people actually know how crazy you get.
I mean, it all depends. I usually, depending how far out from the shows we are, I meet with my coach, Anthony, at least every other week. And that's when we'll make diet adjustments. But like, for example, 2 weeks ago, I was eating like, let's see, 300 grams, about a cup and a half of carbs, 6 ounces of protein and veggies for like 6 meals a day. Now we changed it up a little bit. So we're going same protein, 6 meals a day, but we'll lower the carbs down. When we get closer to the show, we'll switch to fish. We'll lower the carbs on certain days, go medium, high, all different shit. We get wild.
If you ever want to see Steve in his most miserable state, wait till he gets to like tilapia week with minimal amount of rice and just mustard, because then he turns into a
microwave
psycho.
tilapia week when Steve's training John. That's the most miserable.
Oh my gosh. What did you do the whole dehydration going into prep week?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
we'll start messing with water like towards the end of the week. We don't do anything crazy, cutting water, getting too dehydrated, nothing too nutty.
I went because I did my whole bodybuilding show. Everything I did was me. I YouTubed and researched and felt my body out. I did have a personal trainer when I transitioned from cardio to strength training for like 12 sessions, just to make sure I was a basic
had the good form,
fundamentals of form and everything. But I did all the nutrition side of things. It was through clinical research and like kind of looking at it. So I did the prep week going into it. I did 2.5 gallons a day, Monday, Tuesday, then 1.5 gallons Wednesday. And then Thursday, Friday, it was as little as I could. So less than a liter.
That's similar.
Yeah. And oh my gosh, like how thirsty you are going into Saturday morning. And now you're like thimbles of water, as minimal as you can.
I think the worst part is because I'll get up to 2-3 gallons sometimes coming up to it. And the 20-minute drive home from work with traffic, when you're pounding 3 gallons a day, you really start trying to get creative with ideas on where to pee.
But then I'll be intrigued to get know from your perspective too, because I'm a huge health and happiness guy. And what's really nice about health is there's a nice balance to it. You don't have to have 6-pack abs to be healthy. And oftentimes, depending on the person, you can be quite unhealthy with 6-pack abs, both physically and mentally, because you have such a skewed sense of reality on what 6-pack abs means and how you have to get there. So from your experience, especially with people that are in the physique space, what percentage would you say is living a unhealthy and probably unhappy physique life? Is it 10% of the competitors, 50% of the competitors?
I wouldn't even be able to guess, honestly.
Wouldn't be like
I think that to be able to compete and do something like this, you have a reason to. There's something in you, whether it be just that drive or a loss or something that just pushes you to be able to put yourself through this, which I give everyone who competes massive amounts of credit for, to be able to put your body, your mind, and all that through that to achieve a goal of getting on stage and looking a certain way.
No, 100%.
So you're prepping right now, right, Steve?
Oh, yeah. This is a fun one.
And when are you supposed to compete? Right now with coronavirus, I mean, we have no idea, but Steve's actually been prepping since right before lockdown. So when were you supposed to compete?
Originally, I started prep the day after Valentine's Day, and we were supposed to get on stage June 1st.
Okay.
So now it's looking like we may be able to get on stage August 1st.
Okay, so now knowing that you have kind of like an extra 2 months to play with, how does that affect where your diet is at right now? Like, did you kind of push everything back a little bit, or are you kind of just going at the same schedule, and when you get there, you get there?
So that's the tough part with this. Like I said, me and Anthony will talk bi-weekly about my diets and stuff. The MPC is very good about updating on what's going on with the shows. So once one gets pushed back, if we set our eyes on another, then we'll adjust accordingly. That gets pushed back. All right, whatever, adjust accordingly. So we'll keep my calories higher. My cardio will be lower. We won't get too crazy with anything until we know for a definite, like, all right, now we're 100% X weeks out. We could really hammer down and focus on this day.
So we're not at tilapia and mustard yet. We're still eating chicken.
No,
and okay.
No, we're still at chicken now. So don't be afraid to come by and train.
Good. I need to know what I'm walking into, because you are a very angry man on stage.
Oh, I got you.
So what made you start training? I want to kind of bring this back a little bit, kind of take it away from the physical competitions. What made you say, okay, I want to be the trainer instead of the trainee now?
I think Anthony, just because the way that I felt mentally and physically before I started my journey to how I felt after, and I will fully give him all the credit for that. That was something that I didn't know existed in me. And it just gave me that drive to want to be able to do that for others.
Well, I'm going to say you're kind of a psychopath, because not only did you just become a trainer, you decided to take on a client who was 510 pounds at his heaviest, had no idea what he was doing physically, mentally, or anything, had no idea what a carb was or protein was. So like, I want to know from your point of view, like, I don't mean to make this about me, but like, when we first met, what was going through your head? Like, I understand that you wanted to take on this challenge. I get it. You're a competitive guy. You kind of crush every goal that you set for yourself. But when you looked at me, you had to see like a problem. Like, what was going through your head?
I think the first thing that I thought was, shit, this is going to be fun if we vibe. Because I knew that if I could get through your fucking thick Italian skull, that I would be able to brainwash you.
Right.
And I did it.
You did.
But seriously, I saw you, and I knew that if you really wanted to achieve the goal of losing weight and getting healthy, that I would be able to help you do it. And I would be able to help give you that same feeling of satisfaction that Anthony once gave me.
So take me through, because there's going to be people listening to this who, are at a similar point to where I started out. So take me through how you kind of taught me how to work out. Where did we start?
Slow. Nice and slow. Don't be afraid to step outside of the box. Everybody sees this set square of, okay, you got to do this, 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 and this. And John could attest to it. He couldn't fit into machines. He couldn't fit in that box. We had to get creative and do things that worked for somebody who was 6'5", 500 pounds with a limp.
Yeah.
There's not many cardio things and leg exercises. There is, but it's tough.
Right.
We had to make it work for you. And that's where I appreciate you having that faith in me, for me to tell you, all right, John, we're going to step on and off of this 2-inch box with a 5-pound weight in your hand for like 10 minutes. And you're okay.
And we did that for a while.
We did, but it worked because we had to go at your body's pace.
Yep.
And you knew it. You knew it when we started, and you would be completely gassed, reaching for the inhaler. And then one day it's like, oh shit, I don't need that inhaler now.
Yep.
I can, that's huge on my end too. Cause like in my book, I talk about, like for anyone listening that's 100+ pounds overweight, and this is probably against popular personal training opinion. I don't even think you should be doing anything strength training for the first 100 pounds of weight loss. Like it just needs to be move the body more. Whatever strategy you want to take just to burn calories. That's because like for me, I talk about my book, like, so my freshman year of college, my roommate was a state champion cross country star who was also a gamer. So it's a great combo. But he had his genetic prowess that he could eat an entire pizza to himself and still be a six-packed. It's just shenanigans, but it's just a reality. And we made a bet my freshman year that I couldn't work out for 30 straight days. And I was like, okay, I could work out for 30 straight days. And of course, I chose strength training. So I did splits, I did leg day, push day, pull day, arm day, and I went at it. Well, the reality was my body was so unprepared for that kind of just trauma on the muscles that the amount of cramps I was dealing with, the amount of just pain and frustration that brought, I quit. I'm like, this isn't fun. Like I'm already kind of mentally weak, and you're just going to destroy my body to the point where now it's like, I pull a muscle now, I cramp out now. There's a whole different, because I'm mentally prepared for it. But like for someone who's 100 pounds plus overweight, it's like just start moving. Like whatever strategy. If you got a bad knee, it was like for me, I had a bad knee where running was just not part of the equation.
Yep.
Like, and so I incline walked. That was my way of figuring out strategies to just burn calories. I put it at 7 to 10 degrees, 2.5 miles an hour, and just cruised. Put on Netflix and just hung out.
You don't even want to know what Steve had for me to do. We did the most random things in the world.
All about movement, getting the blood in the muscle with the movement. That's all we needed.
Yeah. We were picking up broomsticks and stupid things like that and just kind of just getting me to move. Like I said before, we were doing the whole lightweight, high rep thing for a while. If I could fit in a machine, I have to say, for you to start out just fresh into the training world and to take on a challenge like myself, you're the man. I'm going to be honest with you. You are
Nah,
you're a
I
ballsy, because
you.
I appreciate you. I mean, literally, that was like a make it or break it in your career, starting out. And
But
now you're the.
I knew it.
Now
He was there.
0 to 500,
Not yet.
Real quick. He was like, "Oh, I want to be a trainer, guys," and then here comes Humpty Dumpty coming out of the fucking elevator, like, "Oh,
bring him on."
Yeah,
Steve, can you help me lose 10 pounds so I can have abs? Can you just help me make it to 35? I just don't want to die in the next 3 years. Can you move my body enough so I don't die in the next 3 years?
Do it all, baby.
Die. So now you're competing, you're training. You're training full time. That's your only career right now, right? Is you're a personal trainer. And where are you training out of?
I work at ProFit in Deer Park. It is by far the best gym on Long Island.
Very nice. And you now work with Anthony, right?
Yes, we work alongside each other. We both represent his wonderful brand Method Training, and I'm extremely grateful for that and everything else he's taught me and shown me over the years.
Okay. Now, what I like to ask people kind of towards this end of the podcast is, if you could go back and talk to, 12-year-old Steve, who is obese, he's playing sports, he thinks he wants to go into the NFL, he has no idea what the hell life has for him. What is 24-year-old, 25-year-old Steve saying to 12-year-old Steve?
I think that I would tell myself that it will get better if you want it to get better.
I like that.
Plain and simple.
I like that. I like that a lot. And if you can you give the listeners at home 3 tools or tips, just how to stay accountable, with what they're doing and how to reach their goals?
I would say definitely pictures. Take pictures of yourself at your most unflattering angles. I promise you, like it did for me, like it did for John, it will make you feel like shit at first.
Oh, yeah.
But one day you will look back on that and you will go, holy shit, thank God I listened to Steve and I took this fucking pitch. Because who knows, you could be 300 pounds later inspiring people all over the world like John does. So definitely
David.
pitchers.
That's massive. Real quick, just
David,
before you say the
everybody.
next two, that's one of my biggest regrets at this point. So you know the shirtless picture of me, that's like my main before picture.
Yeah,
I was already down 75 pounds when I took that picture.
Oh, really?
Because every time I took a
Even
picture
me.
of myself shirtless at 410 pounds, I delete it. It freaked me out too much.
Yeah, I was the same way. That picture of me in the blue underwear, I think I was like 285 there or something. I already lost about 30 pounds because I was too ashamed to do it.
100%. And so I'm a firm believer, like, take that before picture. That is huge.
Yeah.
I think my before picture, I'm only down about like 30 pounds or so, because Steve was all over my back about taking a picture, and I tried so hard to never take this picture.
God,
you did. I literally begged.
Yeah, he did. He begged. He was like, listen, if you're going through this, you're really doing this, you need to take this picture because you're going to kick yourself in the ass if you don't. And I was like, but I look so bad. And he's like, nope. He's like, you got to do it. He's like, if you don't do it, I'm not training you. And I was like, come on, man. And I remember being embarrassed as hell, being in my boxer shorts and going up to my father and being like, could you just take this shirtless picture of me? I know this is
me
really
flexing
weird.
really quick.
And yeah, and now that picture's a staple of my journey.
Oh yeah,
knocking on death's door like, hello, housekeeping.
Ain't nobody home.
Nobody home.
All
So
right,
give me the next two.
So I would say your peers, who you surround yourself with. I surround myself with like-minded, goal-driven individuals who are gonna stay on my ass about me keeping on my shit. If I start slipping, I know for a fact that I'm gonna have one of you guys coming over and saying, yo, what the fuck you doing?
Right.
Like, plain and simple. Surround yourself with good, positive, like-minded people if that's what you want to be surrounded with. If you surround yourself with shit, you're going to attract shit.
That's right.
It's simple.
Yep. If you hang out with dead people, you're going to die. That's something that I've always said. And last but not least, give us that final bit of accountability tool.
Never be complacent. It's okay to be proud with where you're at and happy with your progress, but don't settle. Just because I lost 115 pounds, that didn't mean that I was done. I want to take it to the next level. Right. I got on that NPC stage. I competed a few times. I didn't stop there. Now I want to get to that national stage, to then get to the pro stage, to keep climbing and climbing. Don't just sit back and be okay with what you have. If you want something bigger and it's a crazy ass dream, who gives a shit? Go for it. Worst thing that happens is you tried.
What's your end goal?
My end goal, I mean, obviously, I would like to turn pro one day and be able to do basically anything and everything that I can do. Modeling, TV, movies, whatever. But really, it's all to just get myself to the point where I have an audience that's really, really big enough to impact and help. I want to be able to share my story like you do, to be able to help basically us from back in the day. I want to be able to help that 17-year-old kid crying on his bed, feeling lost.
Right.
I want him to see my shit and know, like, oh wow, like this dude went from that to an IFBB pro or whatever, looking like that, and he had anxiety and like, if he could do it, why can't I?
That's right.
That's a pull. I mean, that was one of my big motivate. Like that transition was huge for me, where after I'd lost about 50, 60 pounds and I realized that people around me started losing weight, I was like, wow, my life is more than just me. Like my decisions and actions and results positively or negatively affect the people around me. It's like, I have to be a beacon because who else is going to do it?
Exactly. You have the strength to do it. So why not go all out and be able to help others?
Remember, it's you versus you. And I think that that's something very big that Steve taught me since the beginning of my journey, was that the only person that you're competing with when you go on this journey is yourself, and you will make or break your journey. Would you kind of agree with that, Estefan?
Absolutely. It all comes down to you. Even stepping on stage, as long as I personally get better, I'm happy. That's all it's about. You don't got to compete with nobody else out there in life or whatever. Just be better for yourself.
Are you taking on clients right now? Well, when this is over, are you taking on clients?
When this is over, absolutely. I'll be taking on clients. We like to do stuff more in person. I will take online people if that's something you're interested in, but I highly recommend, if you are in the New York area, to come by ProFit Deer Park. We are the best gym on Long Island. We got the best stuff, the best staff, the best training crew, owner, gym mascot, everything.
And I'll be there, so
Oh,
you
and
can
of
come
course,
hang out with me and Steve.
John's beautiful faces there. You could hear us yell across the gym with Anthony and everybody. It's a fun time.
It is. It's a good time. And where can people find you on social media?
My Instagram is at Arnone65. You can follow me there. Follow along with my journey, some of the clients, competing, all that.
Very good. Steve, I really appreciate you coming on today. It was really nice to kind of talk more about you than it is to talk about me.
It
Even
was
though we
nice.
did, we
We
did,
should do this more.
Yeah, we should. We'll definitely have you back on just so we can talk more about you. And I definitely want to catch up again later on down the road and know where you're at as far as going pro, because I'm letting you know right now, ladies and gentlemen, if 2020 is a wash, by 2021, Steve will be pro. So,
I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you both.
Yeah, appreciate you, brother. Love you. Thank you again. And
love you too, man.
Thank you all for joining in with us. David, any last words?
It's just always fun to find someone that not only had the body transformation but did the competition, just kind of do a different level. So I appreciate kind of you sharing your story on that. And
oh, absolutely. I was happy to hear that you've been through pretty much a similar journey. That was awesome.
The face, the prep week final face, there's nothing like
the sunken in cheeks. Oh yeah.
Oh, Steve looks like Skeletor. Yep, there it is. See, I told you. He looks like Skeletor from He-Man.
We're keeping it ragged now.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you as well. It's been a good episode, and I'm intrigued too in the future. Obviously, story is the most important thing for the start because it impacts the belief into people. But I would love in future episodes where we can kind of do some more nitty gritty and like some people like, okay, what do I do? You're gonna be a fun one to have on to be like, all right,
absolutely.
Let's talk.
I'll come back whenever you guys want me.
Yeah. Steve's gonna be our team trainer, so we're gonna go to him for all the training advice.
Gotcha.
All right, fam. Well, until next week or next time or in 5 minutes when you do the next episode. It was a pleasure, and we will talk to you shortly.